truth, and life. Here is the Brother Leon Show. You better recognize.
Well, I'm going to tell you, man, we getting ready to go in here right now because I got a special guest coming on, and we are going to talk about the disconnect between black men and black women because we got a problem in the black community. So, hey, guys, I want to bring to the stage Miss V. Bailey. And the one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is that Miss V, I'm not going to lie, man, she has answered the call on how to date in these COVID streets. She has a coaching network. She has a coaching business called Virtual First Dates. So we getting ready to call her right now.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Miss V. Bailey?
How are you?
I'm real good. I was just telling the listeners, I'm like, yo, man, we need Miss V. We got to talk to her because, hey, she made it possible for us to date in these COVID streets. I just want to give you some applause.
Thank you.
So it is so wonderful to have you here and everything. I know we talked earlier, and so I'm just excited about today because I'm like, yo, man, we getting ready to go in here. I got to give you the thunder because I know you're going to bring it. I'm serious. So I just want to start with the first question. Who are you?
Yes, well, I am V. Bailey, the creator and host of Virtual First Date, Talks with V, Ask a Black Man and Ask a Black Woman. And those are my YouTube mini-series. And I'm also a healer, singer, writer, and speaker.
Wow. Oh, my God. Let me give you some applause. Because you just said you are a healer, and you are a singer and an author.
Yes, sir. Well, I actually write music, and I am starting my first book. So I'm excited about that. I've always been into motivating and being an inspirational speaker. And so it's just time. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Okay. Thank you for that. So can you tell us about your YouTube channel?
Definitely. So Virtual First Dates is actually the start of my YouTube series. And actually Virtual First Dates was primarily on Instagram Live. And so when I came up with the concept, it started as a podcast. It was going to be audio only. And I felt really passionate about it because I noticed the growing disconnect between black men and black women. And I kind of wanted to come up with something creative to, in a way, as a love experiment, I guess you could say, but something fun and cool to bring us together. So at the very least, if it wasn't a love connection, then it's still a connection and the start of a relationship and building with the Virtual First Date community. And so with that, we would record it on the Instagram Live and then also allow you to watch it, the playback on YouTube. And in doing these dates, basically recruiting these individuals who are interested in trying something new, a new way to date, there were some things that I noticed, and that was that we weren't really, men and women were one way in our interviews and discussions, and they felt very comfortable and vulnerable with me. But when they went on the dates, they would turn into the representative. And what I got from that is that we're not comfortable just being ourselves, fully accepting ourselves, and also that there's a lot that we have to learn about each other. You know, men and women have a lot to learn about each other, and the pandemic kind of allowed and made this an easier choice, you know, to choose doing this online, you know, dating and having these different discussions, because it's kind of like we were pushed into it. There was no choice other to do online dating or meeting through social media and things of that nature because of the pandemic and the lockdown. So yes, and that kind of pivoted us into the direction of how can we connect more and build with each other and learn more about each other. That motivated me to create Ask a Black Man and Ask a Black Woman. And I'll say that as the Davies Ask a Black Man and Black Woman because there is a podcast titled the same by, I believe, Madame Noir. And so I decided that we needed to do that, you know, not enough asking questions and digging deeper and building with each other. And so I think that title, it'll never get old. And I look forward to more, hosts, focusing on that title of asking a Black man and asking a Black woman so that we can learn more about, each other.
Yeah, definitely. Let me give you some applause. Because I'm not gonna lie, we have this whole disconnect, and let me ask you this: do you think it's harder to date because now it's like we got swipe culture all over the place?
Swipe culture is dangerous. I'll say it's fun at first, but all that stimulation, we have never been in a state where we have been so overly stimulated, options, no real consequences. Like, you don't really have to work, We live in this microwavable society, and so we always appreciate or enjoy the convenience, of things, but we never stop to think, is that hurting us in any way? Because when you think about the things that you didn't have to work for, you don't appreciate them, you don't take care of it. Let's say things, yes, if you're getting gifts all the time or someone's always doing something for you, you don't really appreciate it, it's just food. If someone's making something and you have, an access of it, a lot of times you'll waste it, right?
Yeah.
So, the swipe culture is definitely dangerous because it doesn't really challenge you or require you to really get to know someone. And the access, to a person or to sex or, to, companion or date, it's just so easy. It's so easily accessible. So it doesn't, require a person to put in more. And that's a big issue because, relationships, they require work. They require you investing your time and actually fully developing, as far as your relationship go. So, yeah, that's my answer.
Yeah. I totally agree. I think the one thing that I'm really starting to see is not only do you have the whole swipe culture, but it's like what you said earlier, people bring the representative, to the date. So let me ask you this, going back to virtual first dates, how would a person go about, doing that and using that with your coaching and with your company? What's the first step?
Well, yeah, the first step is I always, advise people who are interested or have heard about it from, a friend or online, just to reach out and let me know that you're interested, and you can reach out through the DMs on virtual, at Virtual First Date on IG. And also virtualfirstdates@gmail.com. You can email us there. They have a website, and it's we're currently working on it and adding some things and removing some things. So those are the the best ways to reach out. Even on, Facebook, I'm on there, and I'm responsive there, really with different groups that I'm involved in. But I think that those are the two best ways to reach out so that we can send you a questionnaire. I always send all of the, participants a questionnaire so we can get to know you, get to know that person and see what their likes and dislikes are so that we can match you up with someone who's compatible. And with that, then I go through an hour, interview process where we review your questions that are on that questionnaire and really just get a feel for how accurate that is and to see if there's any flexibility and things of that nature. And once we've done that, then we will match you with another participant, and we will set up a date for you to go live and have your date, and we have the support of the Virtual First Dates community helping you along the way. And then they go on a live date, and then after the date, I interview them, and we see if it's a match or not, and just get feedback on each other. So in that aspect, you're gaining so much because you're learning a lot about yourself to do something new, right? Yeah. And then you're also learning when you watch it, when you watch the playback, but you are getting this feedback of this person, like, almost immediately after your date, and that's pretty nice. I mean, it's kind of scary, but, a lot of us, we go on these dates and then we leave and we're like, I think it was good. I think it was we connected, and then we never talk to them again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's just like with this, you have that feedback, almost immediate. And so that's kind of nice. I don't know if that is something that folks may be too scared, to hear it right away. But if we're dating and we're dating intentionally and we want to be progressive, and we want to, do all that we can to have good relationships, I think that feedback is necessary. It tells you where you can improve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So let me ask you this. Like, during your whole vetting process, do you go through the whole criminal background? Because I know a lot of times a lot of women would had their girlfriends or their moms or whoever take a picture of the person's license plate and everything.
Right.
And I was like, and I totally get it. So,
I grew up that way.
so I totally get it. Do you do anything, like that during the vetting process?
Well, it's pretty thorough, the interview process. And of course, I, do find a lot of the people through professional sites, even networking groups. So you have a resume a lot of times, and so you can kind of look to that. And at least these, most importantly, are they employed? So that's very important. It's just tapping into that, and luckily, in my interviews and vetting process, the people have been very honest with me. They're very honest and transparent. The problem is what happens when they actually get on these dates, and a lot of times it's nerves, right? Yeah. It's nerves, and it's concern about, okay, I wasn't successful, all these other times, and what if it's not, what if it's the same? What if it's really me, and so then they put on. And that part, it can be, it's not the end of the world, because I think that all people have to kind of go through this process of really seeing themselves and getting to the place where that they can, fully accept themselves. But yeah, I definitely try to pick people of a certain caliber, and people who their track record is showing that they do want to date, and that, some of these things that are very important to us as far as safety, that we go through that process. And the great thing about that is that it's virtual. And so one thing that you don't have to worry about that you have to worry about when you're going on a date, you meet someone online or wherever, and you go out with them, you have to worry about, okay, where are we going to go on this date, right?
Yeah.
How much should we spend on this date? Should it be a afternoon or lunch date, or an evening date? What if I don't, like this person or feel uncomfortable, when I get, around them? With virtual first dates, you're able to, talk to this person in the comfort of your own home or wherever it is that you feel comfortable. And, and if you still feel uncomfortable, virtually, you can end the date. It kind of, it's like, kill not two birds, but more than two birds with one stone. Yeah. And you're able to, kind of do that second part of the vetting process yourself. Okay. And pick up, those vibes. And so when I do the interview process with them, it's always video. Okay. And I believe that helps a lot because, you see different things. Pictures, they say a lot, but they don't say everything. Yeah. The video doesn't say everything either, but you can kind of rely on the sense, that the good Lord gave us, in speaking to a person on video. And a lot of these apps, they have the video feature or a call feature. And I think that that's really, a great thing. But I have noticed that a lot of times, men or women are not really using or taking advantage of that feature when they're on these apps. So that's another thing that's very helpful, is that we've already been vetted, through me, from an extensive interview, and then the questions that are available, and just kind of cross-checking those things. So a lot of time goes into vetting them. But a criminal background, we do not run a criminal background.
Okay.
As of yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for clarification.
You're welcome.
So let me ask you this: How has COVID changed the dating landscape?
It's drastically changed it. Well, I won't say drastically, but it's changed it a lot, because online dating was already the wave, the way that we were going. But with COVID, it kind of just, tossed us right into it. It was just like, you don't have any options to go out and just meet someone, at a bar, or meet someone at a mixer. You don't have that option because everything was shut down. And so, as people, you want to connect. You always want to connect. That's a part of what we need, is, human, connection and interaction. And so we had to come up with something else, to do. And so I think that that's where a lot of these apps, really cranked up, their game. They had to get on it because there was a need also for matchmakers, and I think that their business has increased. I'm friends with other matchmakers, and their business has increased drastically because you have the whole thing with COVID, and then after that you have the whole vaccination, thing, and just basically having someone else go through that process of vetting them. That it needs to be a little bit more expensive because now there's other, factors of things that you worry about, right? Yeah. And are this person safe? And, you can't really 100% know that, but at least with someone else, helping you with this process and supporting you on this journey, it feels a lot better. It makes you feel a little bit of peace in doing this, because at the end of the day, people don't want to be alone. And so, if you can't, figure it out on your own, you're like, can someone help? And so it really has changed the dating game, because, we have to get creative. When I started virtual first dates, I was the first person to do that on Instagram. And really, to make a show about it, I was the first one to do it. And then other, ideas started coming out, and then they started using Instagram for like speed dating, or using Zoom for speed dating, Facebook, doing speed dating, like, games and just, events. And I think that's pretty cool, because it's just like, all right, we have to evolve, right? And because one thing that's not going to stop is people being in a relationship, with each other. Well, at least not in the foreseeable future. So, it's definitely changed the game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Let me give you some applause. Because now it's like, I'm only dating a guy that got the vaccine. I ain't fooling with no girl that got the vaccine. I'm an anti-vaxxer.
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, it's a whole lot of things that are now in the play right now. So I remember before, if it got serious, that you guys, we would go get a blood test like right before we would have sex and everything.
Right.
And now it's like, not only do you have to do that, it's almost now you have to begin to ask some people, depending on where you live at, are you a male or a female? And also, what's your vaccination status and things of that. I mean, it's like, ooh, Lord.
Right. Yeah, well, and also, too, from a lot of what I've been hearing, in these dating streets, some people have been kind of careless just because, in the later stages of the year last year, because they had been on lockdown for so long, and they were kind of just, getting cabin fever and just kind of going a little crazy. So when they were able to get out or, connect with the person, it didn't really take much, because they just really missed that human connection.
Yeah.
And so some people got themselves into a little trouble, last year, and weren't vetting as hard because of that, just really wanting to, get out and connect with someone, or, connect, with someone on a deeper or more intimate level.
Yeah.
It has done a number of things.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, ooh, girl, I'm seeing the UPS man. He come over here every week.
Exactly. Things are just looking at a person with these masks on, and you're just like, are they fine or are they not?
Yeah.
Because all you have is the eyes. But I think that's pretty important, because, the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know how, true, that is a word that actually came from, but I believe it, because I'm able to feel a lot, from looking at a person in their eyes. And so I kind of think it's a good thing in a way, because you're able to focus, on, the soul of the person, when you are speaking, to them. And I feel like you can pick up, a little bit more of that person's energy when you're not distracted with all these other things, the hair. I mean, a lot of times people got their hat on, they got a mask on, and you're like, what? Is it a disguise or what? But you focus in on their eyes. Like, okay, I know those eyes, like I can connect,
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure.
All right. So I'm gonna just change up a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you think the disconnect is between the black man and the black woman when it comes to, dating, romance, and even marriage, and even, staying together as a family?
That's a lot.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to break that up.
Yeah.
I think the disconnect is really about us not knowing each other. I mean, obviously there are, a few other things, when it comes to our history in this country, right?
Yeah.
And the oppression,
Yes.
and, slavery, and then the removal of the black man in the household. welfare, all these different things that put you in a state of survival and fear,
Yes.
Fear of not being able to have access to the resources that you need, for survival. And so that kind of put us in this, survival mode. And as you know, when you're in survival mode, you're not meant to dwell there. You're not meant to stay there permanently. It's so you can survive, in that instance, and then move on and, grow and begin to thrive. And so I think that some of the disconnect there is the way that we are systematically oppressed, and that it's different, the way that you as a black man is oppressed is different from the way I'm oppressed as a black woman. The things that we go through are different. Now, a lot of times we've gone, from our trauma, even though, it's not the same, we are going through, we are experiencing this, and we've gone, from being black, and then our culture, but it's mixed in with a lot of pain, and if we're not able to understand each other, and then going further, not able to understand each other's pain, a lot of times that's frustrating, Yeah. And so, a house divided cannot stand.
Exactly.
And so that is, I think one of the, some, of the factors that have hurt us, that are, keeping us disconnected, it's not allowing each other to know each other and be vulnerable and open up and express certain things. And so that we can know each other. You can't love that person properly if you don't really know them, And I think that it saddens me, but it seems like it's just growing, like that disconnect, because we're so frustrated, and no one is feeling like they're being heard. Black men are like, black women don't listen. When in fact, they do listen. It's just there's some frustration, as well that, we have. And then black women, they feel like they're not being seen, they're not being heard, they're not being protected, and the breakdown, when I speak, to some men, I've heard them say that they don't understand that, right? Yeah. And they're, they have their complaints. And so that's why it was so important for me, to create, VBAs Ask a Black Man and then VBAs Ask a Black Woman, so that we can get into this and ask these questions and really, for those who want to hear each other and they want, there to be success within black families, that they will show up, do the work, ask the questions, and, so that's very important, and that's a very important piece is, the oppression as well as the lack of knowledge about each other, about the other sex, and practicing being in a relationship. I spoke with my mom and we had these interesting discussions, but we talked about that, about the connecting and said that you go to school and you learn about sex education, but not relationship education. And exactly. That's the most important thing. We spend so much time learning how to use our phones, learning how to do anything that's not really as important as understanding how to be in a relationship with someone that you're going to create a life with, that you're going to hopefully create a legacy, and what's that legacy going to be, And so that just seems like something that's more critical for us all to focus on than doing TikToks and, learning how to do something that you're not going to have to use. That's not important for your life. There's nothing wrong with a TikTok or two, but I'm just saying that there are other things that are more important that are going to affect us all. And we need to, spend a little bit more time and effort, and put that into relationships with each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I love everything that you're bringing right now. That's the God knows truth. So I want to rewind a little bit. So when I hear that phrase, black women do not feel protected, what does that mean? Because I've been hearing it a lot, like, we don't feel protected. So I'm like, okay, talk to me. How is it that I can make you feel protected? Because it almost goes to that whole thing about I don't feel secure. So is there definitely a difference between I don't feel secure versus I don't feel protected?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that when we think about, being protected. Okay, so when you think about a man, you think about a man providing and protecting, right?
Yeah.
And so providing and protecting, they all fall under, the security, the security that we need, that we find in you all. And so when I think about provision, I think about you providing the necessities. For me, you're giving me shelter, right? You're giving me a safe place to lay my head. The lights are on, there's food, everything that I need to survive. You are providing that. That doesn't mean, this luxurious life. That doesn't, you can provide those things, but that doesn't necessarily, that's not what makes you a provider. Provider is a person who is providing with the necessities, right? And so that's a form of security, is having a home. The lights are turned on, the heat's on. I'm not in danger. You didn't take me from my parents' home or wherever I was before to come and struggle with you under a bridge, right?
Yeah.
So there's the provision, providing that, makes me feel safe and secure, right? So it's the safety there. And then the security, or the protection. The protection, if I'm protected, by you, that is, I think that's the part where it gets a little cloudy, where it's just like, whoa, what do you mean by protecting you? Well, we can start with, the protection of you being around. So in order for you to protect me, you have to be around, right? You have to be, if someone comes, for me, if you're not there, I'm left exposed. So I'm not protected, which leaves me in a vulnerable state where it causes me to be insecure, and not insecure about what I look like, but insecure if I'm going to be okay, right? So that's where we can start there, is when we talk about the protection and security. You have to be there. So if you're not in the home, or you're here, hanging out, and then you're not here, you spend your time elsewhere and it's not at work, you're not, doing the job of protecting, which is what you were created to do.
Okay.
So there's that. Then there's obviously, if you are there and people can run up on me or threaten me, say different little things, and you don't have my back, then I'm not protected. I don't feel protected with you. Yeah. If your mindset, now this is the part where it gets a little deeper. If your mindset, we're not on the same page in what you value, you think that I can be, offered up, that you're not protecting, because the way that I think about it, I don't feel safe if I can go around you and your buddies can talk to me any kind of way or make, inappropriate comments, and you don't say anything.
Yeah,
I don't feel protected, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll go one deeper, and this is the one that I think that most men miss. I would say most men, but a lot of men miss this. And that is the emotional protection.
Okay. Now,
this is something that we both do for each other. If I am with you and you want to share your dreams with me, you want to share your ideas with me, and you share them, you're vulnerable with me, tell me about the different things that have caused you to not believe in yourself, and you share those things with me, and I step on your ideas and say, that's not a good idea, and you can't do that, so you just need to stick with this job over here at the plant and focus on that, because we got bills to pay and ain't nobody got time for your dreams. You're not emotionally safe
Yeah. Exactly.
I haven't created a safe space for you. And if there was one, it's gone now because you don't feel that you can be vulnerable with me and share your vision, which is a problem because we're supposed to be building together, and I'm supposed to be, your support system. We support each other. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So as a woman, if I come into your life and we're dating or we're, married, and we go to your mother's house and your mother oversteps, but then you don't know how to put your foot down and set the tone, I don't feel protected. I'm not safe in this relationship. Yeah. I'm just here.
Yeah.
And so that is what a lot of times we're experiencing in these relationships. And there's a lot of women who don't speak up, because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to ruffle them, I don't want to ruin this out of fear. A lot of times we operate out of fear that we're going to lose, something that it is that we feel defines us, We've gotten to the place where we're able to work and make other accomplishments, and then we can, feel attached to that and define that happened before. We didn't have those things, and a lot of times people still feel defined by having a husband, or by having a child, and having that man's last name and having being a part of his world is what is defining us. So we don't want to. A lot of people who are in that position, they don't want to ruffle any feathers because they don't want to risk losing that, risk losing, being validated.
Yeah.
And so they don't share, those things. And so when they do share it, it's just kind of like, oh, y'all tripping, oh, y'all just making stuff up. How you think? You don't forget. It nobody here to you, And it's just like, okay, so now you are literally just making me feel like I am crazy and that I am, just being, I'm exaggerating, and I'm just being over the top. And then, of course, what happens? You shut down, right? Just like I gave that example about you as a man when you share your dreams, and then I just completely just step all over them and, crush that for you. It's the same. That's what it is, that feeling. And a lot of times people are not, women, and some men, are not able to articulate that.
Okay.
And so that's where the whole idea of not feeling safe, comes from, because you're not present, And then there's some that are present, but then they're not, they haven't walked into their masculinity and that manhood and know what their role truly is. They're not walking in it. And so, of course, that leaves us vulnerable as women at a time that try to be vulnerable. In this moment, we need to be protected and feel safe so that we can operate in our full essence and femininity, and do the work that we do. Right?
Yeah.
So, there you have it.
All right. Hey, look, let me give you some applause because I'm getting ready to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Because I've heard, and it's kind of like an oxymoron because I've heard some women, I don't need a man. And then on the other side of their mouth, we don't feel protected. I'm like, but you just said you don't need a man.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's the same women, saying those things. But I'm glad that you brought that up because what we just discussed, it's not everyone. We still have a lot of people who are running around here broken and confused and used. They, started off wrong and the foundation was rocky. So, of course, everything else is just going to spiral because you're not healthy, And there's a lot, to be honest, in our community, there are a lot of us who are, and I only say our community because I live in our community. I'm a Black woman, and so I'm familiar with our community. So that's all I can really speak to at this point. But in our community, I have realized, and many have realized, that a lot of us are not at the place of being healed and whole to even be in the position of dating. Most of us don't have no business dating. Because we haven't done any of the work. We still have a lot of trauma that's, unresolved. And so we're all over the place. And you can't, you can't date like that. You can't build, anything if the foundation is rocky, right?
Yeah.
You can build it, but there's a high percentage, of a chance, that it's going to fall or it's going to be janky. But at the end of the day, it's going to crumble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So when I hear I don't need a man, I was out and a guy had asked, he came over and he was chatting with us and he was just being, giving big brother vibes and trying to hit us to some game, right? And so he asked that question. That was one of the questions that he asked, and it was 5 of us. And 2 of the women before me, they said no, they didn't need a man. And then it got to me and I was like, yes. And then, my other two friends said yes. And he was just like, those 3 gonna be married, y'all gonna be single. And so I had to break it down because they were kind of going back and forth. And I had to break it down to the 2 young ladies. And I said, yes, you may feel, she's like, when I hear that, I feel like, no, I don't need a man because I've been able to do X, Y, and Z, take care of me, my children. And I've been able to do all these things on my own and do a good job, right?
Yeah.
Because she's thinking that she's doing a good job, right? And so I had to tell her and share with her and say, well, yes, you're able to do all these things. The man, he can do all these things. The woman can do all these things. And in your mind, you're saying, I can do a good enough job, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is that you're not thriving. Another thing is, beyond you not, thriving, is that you don't really want to do all that.
Yeah.
But what happens is, with that situation, and then some men who are like, okay, I don't need a woman, I don't need a wife, what good, is a woman in my life, blah, blah, blah. That's that person who is like, well, I don't know. I've never experienced having a mother in my home, or I didn't have a mom like that. I had a mom who was on drugs. I had a mom who was abusive, just different things. So, of course, in that situation, you have not experienced what it is to have a woman, in your life. You haven't experienced the greatness of when a person is fully, acting in that, being a mother, being, a wife to you, being these things. You haven't experienced that, right? You haven't experienced that loving, person in your life. Or that woman who's saying she doesn't need a man. She has not experienced it. She hasn't had a good man in her life. And so a lot of times when we don't have something and there is deficiency and we are aware that we don't have it, that pain is so great that a lot of times we say, I don't feel like this anymore. So we start lying to ourselves and telling ourselves because we don't have it, that we don't need it. And if I tell myself I don't need it, and then I overcompensate here and there, then, and I'm doing, I'm making it, then I don't need it. And that softens the blow.
Yeah.
And you start to believe that lie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at, with that topic, because I realized, I'm like, you're lying to yourself, you really are. But that's what we do, sometimes just to kind of, sheer, ourselves from that pain, shield ourselves from that pain. We lie, and say we don't need it because it doesn't hurt anymore if you believe that you don't need it. It's like, well, that's okay, I don't have it because I don't need it,
Yeah.
And it's a defense mechanism. It's not real.
Yeah. I gotta give you some applause because I think the one thing that I'm really starting to see is that we got to start healing from the issues. We got to start healing from the issues. And a lot of people, they have come to accept being numb in certain areas because the numbness, it's not healed, but at least I don't feel anything anymore. And so being numb is not being healed. And in all actuality, if you have something that's numb on your body and there's no feeling, after a while, it gets to the place like, yo, we got to cut it off.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so a lot of times people, you end up cutting certain things off because you done got used to the numbness because you didn't want to get healed, from it and everything. And I totally get it. and everything. But like I say, like I've said to, some of our sisters, I'm like, sisters, y'all are some bad women. I'm telling you, y'all strong, y'all got all of that. But if you have a son, he needs to see a man at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to
definitely.
see a man. Because as bad as you are, you can't show that boy how to become a man.
Right.
And that's the God knows truth.
Right. And that's just, getting complacent with this idea of mediocrity. Because, yes, we said, women, sisters is back to the bone. We can do a lot of things. We can be superwoman and all that. Yeah. But the thing is that the way that it was meant to be, for us to really thrive, is together. So just as bad as you are, sisters, and making it happen and kicking, butt and taking names, like, how much greater would you be with a man that matches that,
Exactly.
And not saying that he's exactly, doing as much as you're doing and this and that. No, he just needs to do his part,
Yeah.
And when he does his part, look what you're giving your child. You're giving your child all the tools for success.
Exactly.
You are giving him, boost, on into greatness. And why wouldn't you want that for your kid?
Yeah.
Why would you, really lie to yourself and not heal, and if there was just the slightest chance that you were lying to yourself, right? And you were preventing your child from having everything that you could possibly, provide them. Why? Why would you say no to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you have to ask yourself, maybe I do need to, need to check in and check in on my mental health.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of times the reason why, we say we don't want it is because we done got scarred. And a lot of times what I've seen, and this is men and women, we get scarred by one person, we get bruised, we get tore up by one person, and then the next person comes along, they got to walk on eggshells, they got to juggle stuff. They end up getting half of us at double the price when we willingly gave ourselves to the last person. We gave them everything. And then our hearts got broken, and then the next person that comes along, because you got broken here, you say to yourself, you make an inner vow like, I ain't gonna never let that happen again. I ain't gonna never let a man or never let a woman. And then the next thing, that person comes along and they feel like being with you is like being at Barnum and Bailey Circus. I'm constantly performing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And no one wants that. That's not attractive. That's not desirable.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy. It's very toxic.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Definitely. And it's like, that person is almost like the 5 Heartbeats movie. Every night I gotta prove my love. And it's crazy because it's like you have to ask yourself, am I willing to walk away? Because if that person isn't healed, and after a while you get tired of walking on the eggshells, and then you just say, look, I know you had a hard time, but I am not that person.
Right.
And so, a lot of times it's like we got to deal with the ghost of our past before we're able to even function in our present and even go forward in our future.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I see a lot of people, instead of getting therapy, I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go back to school. I'm like, hold up. No, you got a broken heart. You need some therapy. Yeah, Jesus is good, but a counselor and Jesus is better.
Exactly. And I was just going to say that a lot of times, people who are good at what they do, they will tell you that it's important to, receive, godly counsel as well, as people who, this is their profession, a health professional, mental health coach, life coach, a person who is a therapist, and they specialize in trauma, and why not? You know what I mean? It's you. Like, why don't you deserve it all? You know what I mean? Like, why don't you deserve it all? Why would you just limit yourself to regular counselor and then not, spiritual advisor?
Yeah.
Why would you just limit yourself to just a spiritual advisor and not, a counselor or therapist? Because there's some things that, I think that you can get a lot of wise, counsel from, spiritual advisor, but sometimes it's limited, and sometimes there is an agenda, and sometimes it's like you experience this spiritual advisor and they may not think outside the box.
Yeah.
And you may be a person who needs to think outside the box.
Exactly.
You need whatever it is right there, just outside the box.
Yeah.
But they can't get there because they're limiting themselves. And that's not always, because there are some spiritual advisors who are well-rounded and they actually, go to school, for different things. I know quite a few, pastors or members, of the church, hold positions in the church, and they also went to school, for therapy or psychology and things like that. So it's not, an absolute, but just open, don't limit yourself.
Yeah.
Get whatever it is that you need. And some people, they read books, and they go to seminars and they, take the notes and they really apply it. And some people are able to do the work, themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the help of those resources, but they're able to really apply. They have the discipline, to get it done. And that's cool. Don't close yourself off to it when you are in the position that you need help.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can't really, Mayor can't be a chooser.
Yeah.
I have to just accept this because I need some help and I'm in a place where I need a hand, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's right. Mental health is huge.
I totally agree, because I think the one thing that I've seen with a lot of clergy per se is that whole cookie cutter thing, and it's like, we got to get out of the cookie cutter, because one size does not fit all when it comes to people who come to us for counseling. Because the one thing that I've seen pastors they use their relationship and everything that worked with them, and they'll use that as the template for everybody else. And so, like I say, I'm like, everybody ain't meant to be the pastor and the first lady, and what might work for them may not work for Brother John and Sister Kendra. It ain't gonna work for them.
Right. Exactly.
So we got to be able to, have something that's going to be unique to each person that comes, because everybody is different. Even when
everyone is unique.
Yeah, everyone is unique. So my next question is, how can we as people, Black people, apply, learning the love language of each other? Because, I totally see that when it comes to us, the disconnect sometimes can be the communication. And a lot of times we have to begin to learn, each other's love language. So can you talk about, the love languages that we need to learn in our Black community so that we can be successful when it comes to love?
Right. It goes back to understanding each other, right? And just working on relationships between each other. So it's me, choosing you, right? We're choosing each other to be in relationship with one another. There's obviously already some things that we like about one another, but I want to go deeper because I, am choosing you. So I want to continue to get to know you, get to know the things that you like, get to understand your dreams, get to understand the way that you think, get to know how you receive this love. Because if I'm stating that I love you, it's more so about me, in some cases where it's just like, oh, it's the things that I feel, right? But as far as if I do love you, how am I showing you, that I do, so that you can receive this love that I have for you, right?
Yes.
And so it's very important for you to, to ask those questions and figure that out. I would always recommend for people to do the test, the 5 love languages. It's crucial. I think that it can help so much within relationships, and they also have it for children, which is so great because then, when you have these kids and you're trying to figure them out and you're studying them and things like that, this would be very helpful because then you can know how to show them love. Because of course you're the parents. You're like, okay, of course I love you. Just like in a relationship, of course I love you. And you think you're doing a great job at it. But a lot of the times when we're loving people in the way that we understand love, right? And that
exactly.
A lot of the times is not how they understand love, right? And so there's that disconnect. And if you never stop and check in with each other, then that disconnect will continue. And then that gap will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you'll be further and further apart. You'll be in the same house, but miles apart, right?
Yeah.
So back to, dating, in, your partner, it's important to do that. Take the test, read the book. The book is amazing because before I did the test or read the book, I had ideas when I would hear, okay, the love language is there is acts of service, there is words of affirmation, there is receiving gifts, there is physical touch, and then there's quality time, right?
Yeah.
So there's those 5. And I have these different ideas about what that means. And, some people with gift giving or receiving gifts, you're thinking like, oh, okay, that's the person, I just feel like, oh, it's a gold digger, and that's the person who's an opportunist, they just want people to buy them gifts and, that's not really like love. And then I learned, from reading the book that that's not what it means. So a person whose love language is receiving gifts, it is anything you give them. Like they are excited about the small things, so I guess for me that, it is obviously one of my love languages. All of them are people's love language. It's just bigger, smaller or larger percentages. But, I would say, oh, now I understand that. Like that is one of my love languages because, it doesn't matter what it is that you give me. If you give me something like, small, I'm like, oh, what is it? Because I'm so excited that you had to be thinking of me to even bring me this, to even think to get it and give it to me. People whose, love languages are receiving gifts is, you write them a note,
Yeah.
a love note, or you give them a card, or you brought some flowers from your garden, or you baked some cookies. And, this is their favorite dessert and you make it and bring it to them. It's that is what, it means. It's not about, being materialistic, right?
Yeah.
And so that's very important. And I experienced this in dating. Once I actually learned this and did the test and I was thinking about it, and my sister shared with me that she has a book, and this was before I read it, but I did have an understanding, about, this book from things that she shared with me, and then taking the test so I knew what my love languages were. So I had this guy that I was seeing do it, and it was kind of a little ways in, and we were kind of having a couple issues, and I was like, okay, well, maybe, we should do this test and figure that out, and then we can, be able to connect, on a deeper level.
Yeah. And
so we did, and that was huge, because if I would have known what his love language is, he would have known what mine was. I'll just say, take ownership for me. I would have done things a little bit different, and that would have helped us to connect. And, for him, if he was caring, about me and us connecting on that level, he would understand it and he would do those things. And so, a lot of times it's kind of late in the game, and some people are like, it's too late for all that. And it may be, but it may not, be. And if you're both willing, to do the work, sometimes someone's got to go first, all the time someone's got to, go first, unless you do it at the same time. But it will change a lot. It will help you connect and help you understand this person a lot more. And sometimes people are not able to articulate and express themselves, well. And tools like this can help, do that for you. Yeah. It gives you a little bit more insight on that person.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Because I've learned, I ain't gonna lie, when I didn't read all of the book, but I've learned that my love language is acts of service. And the crazy thing with me is that I feel like this, it's the little things. So, if a person is like, okay, I look at one of the little things. If I'm in a relationship with you and I go grocery shopping, then that means I know what you like. I'm going to not only get food that I like, but I'm going to get food that you like as well. And then I'm going to make a Rolodex of, okay, what does she like to eat? What does she like for breakfast? What is some of her favorite snacks and things like that? And even if
it says a lot.
Yeah, it says a lot. Like even at the drugstore, it's like, okay, let me get this type of soap because she likes this type of soap. I can't get that type of soap because that breaks her out.
Right. And exactly. And so the fact that you would think about that, it's like, oh, wow. Like, those are the things that that make you feel like, oh, this person loves me because they're always thinking of me. They do things with me in mind, right? Yeah. And so we were both doing that, with the other person in mind. And we're healthy, we're going to go far. But if we're not healthy, then of course you might, take advantage and be like, oh, this person always thinks of me. And it's like, I don't really appreciate it because like they should, or I feel entitled and to whatever, and I think everything is about me and I don't care about someone, anybody else. Then of course, like you're not going to get anywhere. Yeah. But, for people who are, healthy, at least, trying, to be on the right track, then they're like, oh, wow. Like, even if I'm so busy and I have to stop for a moment and I think like, wow, you remembered that, you remember when I was just like, oh, that's so close me out. And you didn't just go and get it anyway, because some people are dating each other and that's how they act, in the relationship, and then they're clues. They're like, what do you mean I don't love you? I did X, Y, and Z. But it's just like, it's these things that that I share, I'm sharing with you that that are harmful, to me, and you can't even remember, you can't even jot it down if you have a bad memory, so that you don't, get this thing that, is a waste if I can't use it, and you know what I mean? Like, it's a waste, and now we got to go and spend some more money when we could have went and got this one product that works for both of us, right?
Yeah.
So it's exactly that, considering and having that other person in mind when you do, things. That's a person who wants to be in a relationship.
Yeah. That's
a person who is working at it and is building, with the person who wants to connect. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That's cool.
Let me give you some applause.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I also wanted to add too that it's really important to do those things because when you do, it's just like it says, it's kind of like it either could be a red flag or it could be, I don't know, is it a white flag? That, or green, whatever. Like, it's telling you, like, okay, this person is here. This person has committed, to this relationship. And then if you see a person who is not trying to do those things, and you have, conversation with that person, and you just see that they're just not committed, that they don't want to work at it and be a part of that relationship, you can make these decisions a lot quicker and not, waste your time. And when I say waste your time, like, you can always learn something, so it's not ever really a waste of time, but you can be putting forth your efforts somewhere else, with someone who is more aligned with your values.
Yeah.
And you're aligned with theirs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I've seen so many people when it comes to values, and standards and so forth. Some people, they will sacrifice those for the sake of a relationship. And it's like when you start sacrificing your values, when you start sacrificing, your personal peace, you're not going to have a good relationship, because at the end of it, you're going to sacrifice all of that and you will not have anything left.
Right, of course, because it's not sustainable. Yeah. It's not sustainable being this mystery person, like winging it, that is not, it's not sustainable for you to be, successful, have a successful relationship, to be in harmony, because being in harmony is, being balanced. And so that means that you don't get to just show up, and act a fool, like you can't just not, contribute.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, it's real, out here. And it's just funny because I don't think a lot of people really consider everything that goes into it. It's just like, for starters, be a decent human, and if you're checked out and you don't really want to do that, consider being by yourself for a little bit, and you don't have to jump into a relationship because you're so thirsty for it, because you think you're supposed to have it. Yeah. There's certain things that feed your soul. Figure out what those things are, so that you can be, complete, and you can be well. If you just need some, I said this to a friend, not too long ago. If you just need some male energy, don't go get married, or rush into something because you just need some male energy around. Go, get friends, hang out with a friend that you have already, or make a new friend that is interested in the same thing as you, and then you guys can hang out and you understand, okay, this is a platonic relationship. Have that, so you're not so hasty and rushing into a decision that is real permanent, when it should have been temporary, because people have seasons in their life. Sometimes it lasts a lifetime, and sometimes it is just a season, it's a few months, a few years, whatever. Yeah. And it can help, you. It's like, why do you have to feel so imprisoned, with that mindset, that is holding you captive, when you can just have, that person around and hang out with this person, you're getting this male energy, you're enjoying it, and you're like, oh, okay, now I realize I don't really need to be in a relationship, I just needed, some male energy around,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And then when you meet someone that you actually like and enjoy, and that, you guys work well together, you can choose them instead of just chose this other person because you just wanted to have, a man, around. And you made a bad decision, and then now you're in a lifelong commitment, to a person, that you never really liked, you never really wanted to invest in. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. That's definitely so powerful right there.
No.
Because I look at it like, if it's just that, it's so many things and so many cans of worms that we end up opening because we feel as though, I just need that male attention, and we, rush down the aisle. And it's the same thing even in church culture. It's like, we up here having sex and they say, well, it's better to marry than to burn. And so you end up getting married, and the next thing you know, you just open up a can of worms and you got all of these problems because all you really needed was a friend. And that can go both ways, whether it's male or female. So, I look at it like this, if it's something that you need, if it's conversation, just go someplace and just start talking. Somebody's going to talk to you.
Right. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I definitely would say that it goes, it definitely goes both ways. I have a person in my life, and it's just so interesting. We started off with talking, with the intention to date and things like that. And, then, realize oh, okay, maybe not, maybe we are not, meant to date. We don't connect on that. We don't have enough things. We're not 100% align with each other's values. That may change as we grow, as people, but right now we're not, so we should just be, friends.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that, over time, there would always be a thing where he would, kind of proposition me, maybe we should get together. And I'm just like, no, we don't need to get together. And so then I realized from, hearing him, that he was thinking that in order to secure having that relationship with me, the value that I brought, to him in his life as a friend, that he can only secure that by being in a relationship, or, being intimate. And it was just like, I had to tell him, I said, you understand that you being my friend, that I'm not going anywhere. We'll be friends. We'll always be friends. And it's honestly, you're in a better position as my friend than someone who was trying to date me, because sometimes those things, when they end, they don't end so well, and then we're not able to stay in contact and still, be in communication. So you're in a good place as my friend.
Yeah.
But I need you to understand that you don't need to be dating me, sleeping with me, or anything like that in order to keep me around. And he was just like, okay, he's like, for some reason he's like, you're right, you called it. Like I have been thinking that, and I just didn't really know how to say that. And I was like, it's okay, that's why, we communicate, and we're getting, to know each other. The more that you learn to, you're able to pick up those things, with one another. But it's like, we don't have to marry or, us to be in each other's life. Like, you don't have to go all the way extreme, to the left, in order to get what it is that you really, what is you really want, or you really desire.
Yeah.
Let's just talk. Like that's why communication is so important,
Yes.
Effective communication.
Yes, definitely. Let me give you some applause. So Miss V, how can people start following you? How can people get a hold of you to start, getting out here in these COVID dating streets again and just
Yes, definitely. Well, yeah, we want to start another season of virtual first date. Right now, we're working on Ask a Black Woman. We finished up Ask a Black Man, and so to get in contact with me and the team is just reaching out on Instagram. If you have Instagram, we're at Virtual First Dates, and that's VIRTUAL 1, the number 1, S as in Sam, T as in Tango, D is the Delta, obviously, and ATES. And just, that's the handle to reach us there. And we have our woman and man's profile where you can check out the other singles. And that's WOMEN V1D. And we have men's profile, MEN V1D. And you can take a look at, the single bachelors and bachelorettes there. And if you don't have Instagram, that social media, you can always email us at virtualfirstdates@gmail.com. And we look forward to, people coming out and checking out, watching this live on Virtual First Dates YouTube, checking out some of the older videos, and we'll possibly be streaming the newer shows directly to it. But right now, I partner with the HBCU Lounge Network, and that's their YouTube, the name of their YouTube. And we work together, and we stream Ask a Black Woman to the network there, so you can watch the show live. The last one was submissiveness, and so the 2 words that unfortunately have been deemed as curse words in the Black community, but
exactly.
We're here to clear that up and say that that's not true.
Yeah.
we're all not defined by this small group. I really believe that there is a small toxic group, within our community, and everyone has that small toxic group in their community, maybe larger than others. But I feel that within the Black community, that small toxic group is the largest platform. And if we're not careful, we don't do something about it and start to celebrate those who are doing it right, mothers and fathers that are doing it right, husbands and wives that are doing it right and are committed. If we don't start celebrating them and shining the light on them, we will start believing that this smaller group, what they're saying is the truth. Yeah. And we'll start behaving that way because we'll think, okay, you see something, you got to see something to be it. So if this is all that you see and this is what you believe, then you will become that. You'll settle. You will operate in mediocrity. And we can't have that,
No, we can't.
Time for Black folks and Black families to thrive.
Yeah, we definitely need that. I just want to say thank you for today.
Thank you. So, thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So let me ask you this. Are you on TikTok? Are you guys on TikTok?
We are not on TikTok. I actually just signed up because I do sing, right? And so a friend of mine, she was on there doing singing videos, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should do it. I don't know, but I'm thinking about it. Doing a TikTok, for virtual first dates, just to kind of bring in a little bit more traffic and people, who are on that platform, to find out about us. And I'm on Clubhouse under Talk for Z. Okay. And so I have a club there, and it is for the singles, for virtual first dates, casting call, right? So people can follow that group, and a lot of people are following that club. And we'll have some rooms, open up some rooms so we can kind of recruit some folks who are ready to do something new, try something new, to find love. And I'm excited about it. We definitely want, people to find love, but also to be able to connect and really build, and get back to loving each other. And a lot of times I've noticed on Clubhouse, there's some positive rooms, but there are also some rooms where Black women are in there bashing Black men and trying to convince you to date someone else outside the race. And then we have some, Black men who are retired, and they're bashing Black women and, talking about what's the point of having them, what's the worth, what are their worth, and maybe they should go and get, wife outside the country or, and it's just like, well, first we got to start with, do you want to be married in the first place?
Exactly.
And if they're, we need to start with that group, the people who are actually dating with intention, because there is a difference. Like when we talk about courtship and dating, a lot of people will use that term, and that's what we got to stop doing too in our community, is using words and not understanding or knowing what the definition is. Exactly. And literally having an all-out war, fight, over a word or a term that you don't even know what the definition is. So with courting, that you dating with intentions, that you being an intentional dater, you're the intention to marry.
Yeah, exactly.
And then dating is just casual. Yeah. You're just dating.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we got to get that together, so we can, just rebuild and stop bashing each other, because everybody else is doing their thing. They're working together, and other races have, their problems, but they're not out released on platforms bashing each other and tearing each other down. We have to stop that.
Yeah, you're so right about that. You're definitely right about that. So, hey, Miss Belly, I just want to say thank you for coming on this show. Let me give you some more applause. Because God knows you brought the truth, and you definitely brought the thunder. Let me give you some thunder.
Yes, thunder.
So I so appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. I definitely want to have you back on here, because
of course, anytime.
I definitely want to get you on so we can talk specifically to the Christian church, because I just want to know, what is it? How is it that Christian singles can be successful in dating? And in the church, their criteria is as long as he's saved, got good credit in a job, that's it. But I think it's more to it than that. So I definitely want to bring you on to discuss that topic. Yeah.
That's an exciting topic, and it's definitely a topic I want to be, a part of. So I appreciate that. Anytime, that you'll have me, I'll be here. Okay. I do want to, speak to any of the listeners, just words of advice and encouragement with the dating. Just leave with a couple of dating tips, and I would say, to be intentional and know why it is that you're dating. Why you want to be, out there dating and connecting with people. Be intentional about that. Also, to add, to that, I want to say, be realistic. Be realistic with your approach and your request. That's very important, is us just being realistic. A lot of times we have a lot of unrealistic expectations, and that is you're starting off wrong. And last but not least is dating people who you are aligned with. You're both aligned with each other's values. Very, very important. And also just, accept yourself. Really get to the place where you fully accept yourself and work on that healing and self-love. And that's all I have.
I like that. Let me give you some applause. I'm going to repeat them back. You said be intentional. Be realistic. Be in alignment and have acceptance. I like that. That is so profound in itself. That's
self-acceptance and self-love. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. You deserve some applause.
Hey, I look at it like this. The Bible says, "Let another man praise you." So I look at it like this. When I get on other people's platform and they give me accolades, I'm like, Lord, I thank you, because that's how it's supposed to be. But when you're here, you definitely center stage. So let me give you some applause.
Thank you. I'll take it. I appreciate you for having me.
All right. No problem, Miss Belly. You take it. And you have yourself a blessed evening. And thanks again. We definitely got to do this again.
For sure. Anytime.
All right.
Have a great night.
All right. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. That was Miss V. Belly. And the one thing that I want you guys to understand and know is that in order for us to really heal that disconnect, we got to communicate. As Miss Belly was saying, we have to begin to magnify the platforms and the people who are giving us positive outcomes. Because at the end of the day, it's so easy for us to listen to those who have had individual experiences, and those experiences have been negative, and then they dump on the community collectively. And that's the God knows truth. I've been in clubhouse rooms where the whole sum is dumping on black men, dumping on the black community. And the crazy thing is that a lot of times, some of these people, they prop other communities up, saying that if you want to have success, if you want to have this, then you need to get yourself a person outside your race, like a white man or a white woman. And at the end of the day, it's almost like, really? But the one thing they don't tell you is this, is that your individual experience does not define the whole community. And just because you might have dated one black man and it went sour does not mean that all black men are the way that you have experienced. And that's where that whole notion, all these niggas ain't shit, that's where that comes from. What these bitches want from a nigga, that's where that comes from. And so we have got to get to the place where we begin to heal. Because If you sit up here and you believe that you're not going to find brokenness in another community, you are delusional. Because the same thing that you can complain about with a black man can be the same thing you can complain about with a white man, a Spanish man. It don't matter what that man is. And the crazy thing about it is that a lot of us, we don't want to do the work. We don't want to be accountable. We don't want to be responsible. And it's easy for us to just have the type of platforms where we can just say, oh yeah, all these niggas is broken. It's easy to say that. But you're broken yourself. And the crazy thing about it is that it's easy for us to say that when we don't have to take accountability or responsibility. And as long as we keep saying these things, we will draw broken people to ourselves. And we will have a community of broken people, and hurt people hurt other people, and they draw in other people as well. So there will always be a platform for those who are disenfranchised because they've experienced negative things in certain communities. And just because you may have experienced certain things in one community doesn't mean that another community is salvation. And that's the God knows truth. So I want you guys, if you're going to be successful in love, you got to be intentional. Like Miss V. Bailey said, be intentional, be realistic, have alignment, have acceptance. And that's the God knows truth. And I'm going to add something to it. You got to be consistent. Consistent about being healed. Consistent about being intentional. And consistent about being realistic. Consistent about being in alignment. And consistent about having acceptance of yourself. And you got to be patient. Because I ain't going to lie. When it comes to love, you are going to have to be patient. Because if you want that thing to flourish and to thrive and to survive the storms of life, it's like a seed. It goes deep into the earth. And those roots have to go deep. They have to go wide in order for things to have sustainability for it to stand. And it needs nutrients and nourishment. So you got to cultivate it. You can't get up here and dig it up and see if it's growing. You're going to stunt its growth or even kill it. So once you sow that seed, you cultivate it. And you trust that it's going to do what it needs to do. And that's the God knows truth. Because we can glory in the blade, the ear, and the full corn. And we can also glory in the fact that it bears fruit in its season. And we can glory in the fact that it has endurance. But we also have to know that it has to grow down in order to grow up. And it has to grow wide in order to stand up, to stand against time. And I believe that's what we can do as black men and black women. It doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to, give into the narrative. And I believe that that is what we have done. We have gone into this whole thing thinking that we don't need each other. And we believe that narrative, and that narrative is a lie. It's a lie from the pit of hell. And the crazy thing about it is that we have black men and black women who take and preach that lie and try to tell you that that lie is truth. But the Bible says, if the light in you be darkness, how great is that darkness? So yeah, we do need each other. And that's the God knows truth. So hey, follow Miss Bailey, Virtual First Dates. She's on Instagram. And I want you guys, if you single, sign up with her. And that's the God knows truth. So hey guys, we are out.
Walk in the truth that makes you free every day. Follow Brother Leon on all social media outlets.